I 24F saw my neighbor 40s. M cheat on his sick wife 40s. F. Edit, thank you all, I won't intervene nor interact with them in the future. I'll stay out of it since it does not correspond to me. Hi. I'm in a moral conundrum. I know my neighbors by passing, no major relationship nor friendship. I know from seeing them that his wife is sick since many years now. I've seen her dad and it's probably the only person on that house with whom I've exchanged any words with. Onto the issue, due to the electricity going off and on, I had to get up late at night and turn off the alarm at my house, realized there was music blasting. I saw out my window and saw my neighbor with another woman, in their porch. I thought nothing of it but then saw them kissing and I felt awful for his wife. One could hear them in the block with no issue. And just saw him arrive back at the house, after she was out her dad. He arrived with a huge flower bouquet. I've told my friends and so, varying opinions on do not get involved and say it, and I'm really conflicted. I know stress can affect the brain and she had something of the sort. So I'd be super ducking scared to open my mouth and do damage that would detriment her life physically. Please advice, am I wrong to prefer to not intervene nor have any conversations with any of them in the future? Redditor's reactions, story 2 after. Redditor 1, I wouldn't intervene. You could put yourself in a situation you don't want to be involved in. This is especially because by your own admission telling her might make her illness worse. Not to mention there could be parts of this you don't know and they might not be willing to share with you. Op answer, thank you. I know I'd like to be told if my partner was cheating on me, but I feel like the circumstances and my lack of any knowledge of their situation, it's better I do not intervene with any of it. Redditor 2, don't intervene. For all you know, they have an open marriage arrangement. Redditor 3, I would not intervene with a neighbor. That could go horribly wrong. Plus, the wife might be too sick to have time or doesn't have much time left and has given him permission to have a relationship outside of the marriage. Story 2, first time posting here. I caught him at 2 a.m. coming home from the bar with a girl. Let me go into more detail really quick. So Wednesday we were arguing, we've been up and down for a while because he has a problem lying and told me he needed some space to think. I said that is fine but that it was giving me anxiety and that I loved him so much. He told me it's fine, he just needs to think and that he loves me. Later that night I get this immense gut feeling I could not shake. So I drove over to his place and witnessed my biggest fear. They were walking up to the door to his apartment and I confronted them. They literally both just stared at me. I asked the girl, woman to woman, to just be honest and she has nothing to worry about, I just want honesty. She had the audacity to lie and say we're just friends. He proceeded to lash out on me, say that I was down bad, when really he was just guilty. He proceeded to tell me that she is lesbian, and they weren't doing anything. I had left and gone home, realized how ducked it was that they continued to go upstairs, so I told him to take her us home because I'm coming back. I came back, the door was open so I waited in his room, found a bra on his bed. When he got back his pants were changed. To this day he says nothing happened. The day after, I said to him let's have some sense here really quick, would a lesbian really go home with you at 2 a.m.? He admitted he wanted to duck her. He said he didn't know if he wanted to be with other people. I'm devastated. I'm exhausted. Redditor's reactions, story 3 after. Redditor 1, you know what to do op. You have enough evidences to believe he is cheating, however if you want substantial evidences about the possibilities or confirmations of this then there are ways to go through finding that. Some men will deny anything so far there's no confirmed evidence against them. A friend of mine had this kind of issues at a point and I helped with my expertise to get her messages and phone records off his phone. After getting to know this, you can now proceed to breaking up or forgiving or whatever you decide to do. Either ways, I'm sure you will find closure. The major problem right now is because you probably ain't 100% sure of what the situation is. Redditor 2, you can't be with someone you can't trust. Op answer, is there a way to rebuild trust? What if he was telling the truth that he didn't have time with her? Redditor 3, you will always feel this way until you leave. It will not end, and the lies will only become more frequent. If you stay with him, get used to this feeling. Story 3, my husband slept with his younger brother's girlfriend, but seeing him take care of our daughter is making me double think leaving him. Hello. My sister-in-law said I might get some good advice from people who have been through something like this, so I'm going to try. My husband and I are both in our 30s. We have 2 young school-aged children together, one of whom has ASD. We both work, go on family vacations, have date nights every week, and have a healthy time life. We're not struggling with money, and as far as I knew our marriage was fine. On Saturday night, my husband and I were over my in-laws' house for dinner. His younger brother mid-20s came about halfway through dinner and began screaming at my husband. Apparently his girlfriend, they have been together a few years, she is a few years younger than my brother-in-law, admitted that her and my husband had slept together last summer, in our pool house, while me and our children were sleeping in the house. I'm not going to go into details about the fight. I told my husband I didn't want him coming back home that night, and I was going to stick to it. However, like I've mentioned, our oldest daughter has ASD. She has a very specific bedtime routine that involves her father. Yes, we have a system for when he's going to be away. That night at bedtime I tried to explain to her daddy couldn't be there that night, and she screams no matter what I tried. Finally, after 3 hours, I told him to come and put her to bed. She insisted on sleeping holding him. The next day I tried to tell her daddy wouldn't be home that night, so we had to do their away routine. And she had another meltdown, refused to do it. Her therapists said she knows what's going on and knows her dad and I are fighting. I didn't want her father at home yesterday, so I tried to put her to bed again myself. Another meltdown, and her father ended up having to come home. I hate that she needs him, because seeing him be a good dad is making me double think leaving him. And working through it for the kids. But I don't want to be one of those women who just lets her husband do whatever he wants and always takes him back. I'm riddled with guilt that I might be making my kids' life so much harder. I don't want to be selfish. I want our family to be together. Also, it seems a lot of you read my sister-in-law's post. She is the one I suggested post on here. Relevant comment from a fellow Redditor to a post from Oops Sil, confirmed by Oop herself, to Op: what would you be doing with your children if instead of cheating your husband had been killed in a traffic accident or something similar, since emotionally the man you thought you knew is dead and his cheating killed that man that never really existed. Do you have other family that could help take over the bedtime routine and make it a new routine? It sounded like your sister-in-law cares about you immensely. You are not alone. Before the proper update, here is the post from Oops Young Sil. My 18F oldest brother 36 meters slept with my middle brother 25 meters, girlfriend 23F, and it's caused a huge rift in our family. Is it possible for anyone to coexist anymore, or has our family been completely blown up? Hi. I'm 18F. My oldest brother Wyatt is 36 meters. He has a wife Beth who's 36F. And 2 kids. 7F and 5 meters. My middle brother Peter is 25 meters. He's been dating Carly, who's 23F for about 2 years. For background, Peter and Carly went to school together and used to be friends for a long time. I remember her over our house a lot when I was a kid. But then her and Peter just grew apart, like happens sometimes, I guess. Then about a year and a half ago Wyatt was like, oh, guess who I ran into? And he reconnected Carly and Peter and they started dating. But it came out a few days ago that Wyatt and Carly hooked up. Carly admitted it to Peter. And it was like an atom bomb went off in our house. Beth Wyatt's wife was screaming. My mom and dad and uncle were just trying to keep Wyatt and Peter from fighting, and my grandma was yelling at my mom about how she couldn't control her family, and obviously the kids were really upset at this point, so I just took them upstairs, so I don't know how the fight ended up. But Wyatt left first and then Peter left. When Beth took her kids, she said she wasn't going to let Wyatt back into the house and she was kicking him out. But their oldest kid is autistic and she has this whole nighttime ritual with Wyatt, and she flipped out and apparently screamed for like 3 hours straight until Beth let him come in and put her to bed. So now literally everyone is fighting because apparently at one point during the fight my mom told Beth she had to stop screeching like a banshee and get her acid together. So Beth is mad at my mom. And Peter is obviously mad at Wyatt, but he's also mad at Beth because Beth called Carly some really bad names, and I guess he's upset about that even though she did cheat on him. What's going on with him and Carly? Is our family completely destroyed for good? Can even therapy help this? Update: my husband slept with his younger brother's girlfriend, but seeing him take care of our daughter is making me double think leaving him. Hello. My last post was 2 weeks ago, although it seems like a lifetime. Things are luckily much easier. I told my husband to leave the house, and I have spoken to a divorce lawyer. We will work out a custody arrangement once his apartment is suitable for our kids to stay at. My daughter is adjusting well, thanks to her team and actually, my soon-to-be ex-husband's brother and sister. They've been absolutely amazing, giving us so much support and help. I guess her uncle is close enough to her father that she really enjoys when he helps out with the nighttime routine. Again, thank you for all of your kind words. I know there isn't much info in this post, so if there's anything I didn't mention I'll answer in the comments. Relevant comments from Oop. In a thread about Oop's bill, a commenter asks how is he doing while another asks if he broke up with the girlfriend. 1. He's doing okay. He's upset about what happened obviously, but I think he'll be okay. 2. Yes, he did. Story 4, husband 34M of 7 years had an emotional affair with his friend 27F and expects me 37F to forgive and forget. My husband lives separately from our daughter and me for most of the week because of work. Due to finances we live at home with my parents, and he stays at a cheap singles apartment. We cannot afford to live together at this time. Initially I had a lot of problems with this as he would only come home for a day and then go back. When he was here he was very attentive and would help me with whatever I needed, and we would message each other daily, but I felt like he didn't care to come home and be with us. He worked 8-hour shifts and said the drive here was exhausting. We would argue a lot about him not being here, and I resolved to be less selfish because he claimed to be under so much stress and I wasn't seeing his side of things. Long story short, I found out that he was carrying out an emotional affair at the very least with a woman who stayed part-time in the same apartment building for at least 3 months. I'd met this woman and her boyfriend. We had even stayed overnight at their house a couple times. I never noticed anything at the time, I guess because we hardly saw each other. I feel like he was a bit devious in how he presented her to me as well. He insisted that I meet her and speak to her even though I was an introvert and just wanted to stay inside and read. I ended up liking her. She was financially supported by her boyfriend, who was very nice to me, was doing a second degree at the local university and smoked a lot of Ed. I don't smoke and I don't really drink anymore either, but she seemed like a lot of fun and very different from me. Of course, she was very attractive. How it was found out was that my husband sent her a message that he was already missing her, and her boyfriend saw it and ended up finding messages between them, where they talked about estimual things. He had sent a DCK pic. She replied with estimally suggestive comments and they talked about the need for secrecy. She even slept over in his apartment sometimes. They hung out outside of the apartment as well. She admitted to her boyfriend that she had not ducked my husband yet, but she fully intended to. Then said that I knew and planned to have a threesome with them. However, when the boyfriend threatened to tell me, she begged him not to and said he would ruin our family, so he knew that was a lie. He ended up reaching out to me on social media while I was out shopping and relayed what he read. To say I was devastated would be an understatement. I detest cheating and cheaters, and he knows this. While I've had minor issues early on with what I felt was flirtatious behavior from him and women he would interact with, he had stopped when I mentioned it was inappropriate and embarrassing to me. He presents as a good Christian man and I expected better. My husband's reaction to the revelation in retrospect was kind of baffling. First he said it was not a big deal. He didn't think he had done anything wrong since he had never had time with her. I kept trying to explain and it was like talking to a brick wall. He said if I was in his position he wouldn't make a big deal out of it. No empathy for me and what I was going through. A part of me felt like I was in an alternate reality watching this happen to someone else. He said she was just a friend and the times that he needed someone to talk to and she understood him and listened to him, implying that I wouldn't. That all the estimual stuff happened when he was drunk and couldn't even remember sending the DCK pic. In fact, he first broached his infidelity in a trickle-truth way by saying that apparently he sent her a DCK pic and her boyfriend found it. When I asked what that meant, he said he has no recollection of sending it, but the boyfriend had seen it, so it would appear that he did send it. My husband has a scientific bent of mind and is a logical person while I am more emotional and reactive. However, he expected me to believe that he never even kissed this woman, that it's just a really intimate friendship, and truly thought he had done nothing wrong. I asked him why he had their messages on a disappearing chat if it was all just friendship and innocent, and he had no answer. There is a lot more I could add that was mind-boggling, but it's been like 6 weeks, and though he has apologized and I have decided to try to work it out for our daughter, I feel like he still has not accepted the gravity of what happened or really thinks he is wrong. She and the boyfriend have broken up since, even though they had given it a second try, and she lives in the same apartment now full-time. He felt comfortable admitting to me that he missed their camaraderie and needed time to stop talking to her. That's right, he still talks to her. When I try to get him to see my POF and how hurtful this is, he gets angry and visibly shuts down. He seemingly wants to focus on the future and forget about this, but I can't. I feel he hasn't shown me enough remorse or accountability. I've realized after going through his phone that he has always been a little bit inappropriate with his female friends. I am humiliated. My family never wanted me to marry him in the first place, but now they love him. If they found out that he did this to me, they would hate him. The advice I'm looking for at this time is if I am being gaslit or manipulated. He never outright said that I was to blame for him turning to her, but he did mention a couple times that I'm mentally fragile and didn't have time for him, and he needed someone to talk to, and that I never wanted to have time anymore. For what it's worth, on a good week he comes home twice for a few hours and wants time. I'm expected to be receptive time yearly to whatever random time he pops in for a visit. That's not how my body works. Whenever I want to get some closure, he gets angry or looks bored. When we talk recently, he complains about how stressful his job is, and it makes me feel guilty about bringing up the stuff that bothers me. The thing is, he said the same thing while he was in the middle of the emotional affair, and he somehow found the time to talk and go out with this woman. While I was here raising our child in circumstances that are far from ideal, he was doing his own thing and making me feel bad when I asked him why he wasn't coming home. So I don't know if I am being too naive or what. Something just doesn't sit right with my soul. How could he be sorry if he doesn't see what he did was terrible? They both still live there, and I just have to take his word that nothing is happening between them. I'm not in a position to leave him right now. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, you're being lied to, gaslit, and manipulated. 99% they've already slept together. You don't get to keep an affair partner in your life. He's not even breaking it off. Then hands down her happiness is more important than yours. He's more worried about missing out on their little hangs than your entire marriage. I'm sorry to cut it straight, but I think you need to hear it or want to. He's not sorry. If he was, he would do anything in his power to fix this. He would cut her off completely, figure out a new living arrangement. I am so sorry you are going through this, but he already has another place to live and he's already in another relationship. Change the locks and figure out visitation with the kids. You are in a position to leave him, because he has already left you. You're staying with family. You have support? Redditor follow-up, I 100% agree. I'm all for trying to reconcile, but at this point even I don't see it. He's already got another life set up. Now that his AP is single, there isn't anything stopping them since you live separately. He prioritizes his other life over you, and there aren't any consequences for his actions. Tell your family. Talk to an attorney. Talk to a therapist or someone you trust. You shouldn't be second place to his AP. Redditor 2, honey, he's still having an affair and he's not sorry. He's pissed he got caught. You're already halfway out the door. Tell him it's done, you deserve better because you really, really do. Redditor 3, I stopped reading halfway through. They are binging, accept it and figure out what to do. This isn't just a MIA. It's an EAPA, get STD tested for sure.